Hey everybody, I think we're live. I think we're live. Ben, Dr. Jeff, can you hear me? Are we
Yes,
live?
ready to rock.
Okay,
Yep.
we're live, then everybody's live. Good stuff. So welcome everybody to an information seminar by Rhythmia Life Advancement Center down here in beautiful Guanacaste, Costa Rica. And the intention of this talk is to really kind of lay out for you what we do at Rhythmia and what makes us a really, really special place, a really special place. So we talk about that a little bit for a couple of seconds because everybody comes to Rhythmia in their own way and at the right time. So before I even tell you about myself, there are two guests I want to talk about that I talk about orientation. I do a lot of the guest orientations when people arrive. And every Sunday night, when everybody gets here, room full of people, I always share these examples. So let's give it to you early right now in case you're going to come down. You'll hear it twice. There was a lady here a couple of years ago. She came for her 87th birthday and it was her 11th time at Rhythmia that week. And she got up and did a 5-minute talk about what it did for her life. So it's never too early. You can come as a teenager if you're 18 or over, and it's never too late. And if she had the wherewithal and the tenacity and the drive and the desire to make the decision, because really in life, everything's about decisions, right? What do they say? Incision means to cut into, and decision means to cut off. So sometimes you have to cut off your old behaviors, old patterns by making a choice to make the leap of faith. And there's not a lot of faith here that's required because we'll go through the data that we absolutely commit to as being true. So, anyways, 87 years old, 11th time. There was another gentleman that came through here about 3 years ago, and I was able to hear his talk at the end of the week. When I got to know him really well, I could do a lot of other guests. And what he shared was his experience on plant medicine. So I have never done this work anywhere else. I just really, for whatever reason, I don't want to go to somebody's house. A basement shaman is a bit of a joke. I don't mean that derogatory. I just don't want to do that for lots of reasons. I'm probably just too bougie to want to go to the jungle and deal with the spiders and snakes and all the rest of it. So I've only ever done this work here. And I've done the guest week 9 times. I'll talk about that in a second. Over the years, 9 times I came back to do it. There were so many different changes in my life happening that was helping with. And I've been working here at the resort basically since COVID, about 6 years. This one particular gentleman, independently wealthy, retired, not that old. I mean, maybe he was 50 at that time. And he spent 12 years going around the world doing various plant medicine ceremonies. A couple things he showed me that I didn't know. One was a world map. He had pinned on or put a little kind of a marker on his paper map. Every place around the world he did a ceremony of some type, of some indigenous plant medicine. And he had a dot every single part of the planet. That was his goal, where it was served, and for thousands of years. And he had no dots in Antarctica. And he told me that's the only place, and maybe it's under the ice. Who knows what's under the ice? But it's the only place in the world that an indigenous plant medicine is not being used. I didn't know that. That was kind of cool. Then he shared this. He showed me his journal, and he told the whole group this that week. 450 plant medicine ceremonies around the world of every type that you've ever heard of. 450. I've done 83 now in total, single ceremonies here and there. Like I said, the guest week program 9 times. So he did 450 and over a period of only 12 years. It averaged one a week. Some weeks, he's doing none, and some he's probably doing three or four. And what he got to tell that group that week was also very important for me to hear, doing the work that I do here with the guests every week, is that he had more insights and information and really stuff that he could take to his life in 1 week here than he did, he said, in the combined 12 years, 450 ceremonies elsewhere, and he contributed to the program. That's what we're going to talk about tonight. What separates us from other, modalities that you might use, and I've done all kinds of other stuff, certified in all kinds of other stuff. We're going to talk about this thing called the Rhythmia Way. So it's really special. I'm going to share the bios here quickly on Dr. Jeff and Ben Decker that's doing the talk. In 2 seconds, I came to Rhythmia a month before the resort actually officially opened. Kind of interesting. I came here mostly, if not only, for the yoga. Shiva Ray was the instructor at that time, kind of world renowned. And I either don't remember seeing it on the website or I was not aware of the ayahuasca component. It completely, I missed it. And that was January of 2016. I was celebrating a very important birthday that year, and I wanted to kick it off with something really special. And that was January of 2016. And between that time and COVID, I didn't make it to the January of 2020 because COVID had kind of kicked in and started. I did the guest program 9 times over those years. And when people kind of ask me, the name of the company, and I said it's also an orientation, it's not Rhythmia Ayahuasca Center, although it's one of the main modalities we use. It's not the only one. And this thing we call a miracle, which we'll talk about, happens through the week at various times, all the time. We'll talk more about that. It's a life advancement center. And the best way I can just describe that from my own experience from the very first time I came, life goes up and down. The week at Rhythmia goes up and down. Everything goes up and down. It's kind of, nothing's always great or awful. It's kind of like this. And all you can do is kind of, keep going through life. But what happened in my life was the ups pretty consistently became higher. Just the higher quality of emotions. The quality of your life is the quality of your consistent emotions. And I just that I noticed that right away when I left. My clients and my business noticed that. People nearest to me noticed that the highs were higher and the lowers were higher and they weren't as persistent. So it's kind of like, stock chart. I was living like this. The next, I start living like this. The other thing that happened for me, I noticed, is the peaks and valleys weren't so drastic. It wasn't so this, it was more of a that with higher highs and higher lows. So that's my best description I give you for the personal advancements that it's done for me. The other insights and understandings and emotional kind of, changes continue to happen over the years. And let me get into who we're going to talk to for the next little while or talk with. And we'll have time for questions at the end. And we do have some questions that have already come in, and it's going to be a great interactive little talk. So, Dr. Jeff. Dr. Jeff and Jerry have a very close and interesting story. I know them both very personally, and we play golf together and all kinds of stuff. We're friends. But his psychiatric and psychology background is world renowned. He's our chief medical officer here at Rhythmia, and his ability to merge really, traditional psychiatry and psychology with shamanism and the psychology of shamanism. And there really is a lot there. And the data that we compile is nowhere else in the world does this. We're the only place to join even traditional Western medicine with natural indigenous medicines. And we have a medical license here that allows us to do that. That's also unique. So he's got information to share with you and experience that nobody else has. Ben Decker. I always I call him over all the time to talk to guests when I start hearing them talking about different spiritual modalities because the reason is Ben Decker has been a guest speaker with me since we've opened. He's the full-time holistic manager and integration coach manager here at the resort, and I have met now myself about 16,000 guests through here, and we attract people that are just new to this work, and some people that are super advanced and have their own training centers, their own spaces in this. Well, Ben's practical certifications, his books, he's an author, who's he worked with and worked for in the spiritual space is amazing. So let's see what they want to tell us about what's going on with them and with the resort. There's our intro. And Dr. Jeff, Ben, take it away. Who's going to talk first?
Okay, thanks, Dwayne. So,
yeah, thanks, Dwayne.
Don't disappoint, guys. Don't disappoint. I built you both up pretty high.
Okay, we'll see. Hopefully not. So, as Dwayne mentioned, I'm the chief medical officer at Rhythmia. So what that means is that I manage the medical license that we have, and I'm going to explain why that's important for our week-long spiritual retreat center. A lot of people think that we're, as Dwayne mentioned, an ayahuasca facility, and we're going to talk a little bit about what that is later. We do not consider ourselves an ayahuasca center. We consider ourselves a life advancement center. And what that means is that people can come to Rhythmia in 1 week and get their life together. People that suffer from all different kinds of ailments and different problems, they come here to work on themselves. And these people that come here are from all over the world. We've had 22,600 people through our doors since we opened 10 years ago in 2016. So we are a very experienced, very well managed, very serious facility that, as Dwayne mentioned, has a lot of different modalities that we work with. Now, the reason why this place exists is because when I was working at a drug and alcohol rehab in California called Passages Malibu, I was the administrative director of that facility. My background already had been at UCLA, where I got a master's degree in public health. I was finishing up my postdoc in psychology, rotating through psychiatric hospitals, managing divisions of the UCLA Med Center, and working in a psychiatric hospital, as well as having a private practice. During that time, when I was running this rehab, I met a patient named Jerry Powell, and he was from Pennsylvania, and he was a very successful guy. He had sold his recent company. He was a business entrepreneur, very wealthy. He'd made a couple $100 million in his history, and he had retired early at about the age of 45. And what happened is that his entire life, he had never really dealt with his own emotional trauma that he had from childhood that he wasn't even aware of. And what had happened is his trauma from childhood had pushed him subconsciously to try to prove his worth to himself and to the world. And what that looked like was him becoming an extremely successful workaholic guy who was on a mission to be successful. And he accomplished that mission. And then when he was done with that and retiring, and you would think he would want to enjoy his money, enjoy his family, and enjoy all these things he had acquired, and the homes and the vacations and the boats and the cars and all this kind of stuff, all the things the world tells you will make you happy, he realized he was miserable. And he became suicidal. He became a drug and alcohol addict. He became a total disaster. He was very angry. He was not a pleasant guy to be around. His wife was about ready to divorce him. His kids didn't want to talk to him. And he decided he better check himself in somewhere or else he's going to lose everything. So that's how I met this guy. He came into Passages, and I worked with him inpatient for 2 months. And I really saw the strength that this guy had, even though he was completely lost. He really had a drive in him to succeed, but he was totally clueless about how he should approach it, what it should look like. And after he discharged from the rehab, I put him in my private practice, and I worked with Jerry for 5 years. And during that time, we kind of hit a wall. We couldn't get him better. The depression he had was strong. The anxiety he had was spiking. He went to the rehab for Demerol, which is an opiate-based injectable painkiller for surgery. That was his drug of choice. Very serious, very dangerous drug to be a drug of choice. And he kicked that in the rehab, but he continued to use alcohol and cocaine and anything else he could get his hands on. So he didn't go to rehab for those things in his mind, which tells you a little bit how off he was about recovery. So during those 5 years, he hit a wall, and I didn't know what else to do because I had tried every single modality possible, different types of therapy, different types of sessions, different types of activities, you name it. I tried it, and I involved him with lots of different things. Nothing worked. Then Jerry told me that he was becoming suicidal again. And so we became alarmed together. And I recommended that he talk to this person that he had mentioned and met once at the rehab. Now, this person was an aftercare person that we would refer people to, but he had a bond with her and through treatment. And she contacted him actually ahead of time. And she told Jerry while he was on a vacation, she said, you need to try a certain kind of plant medicine because I believe it will turn your life around. I see what you're posting on Facebook. I see what you're saying on your Instagram. You're not happy. I know I can tell what's going on with you. You need to really go down to this place where I've sent a lot of people just like you, and they've turned their lives around. And I think this could work for you. And Jerry was like, what are you talking about? Like, what do you mean plant medicine? What? He just never even heard of it. And he said, okay, well, you know what? I'll take the challenge because I've tried everything. Nothing's worked. And I don't know much about this, what I'm doing or where I'm going, but I'll try it. And so she sent him to a shaman's home in Costa Rica. And Jerry showed up not knowing any background about plant medicine, not knowing about any of this holistic stuff, tribal healing modalities, indigenous culture, and he knew nothing. And he got to this place and he was very nervous and scared. And he started to learn about what this plant-based medicine was. And it was something that you had to consume, and you had to go through a ceremony that was traditional to that indigenous culture that he was participating in with this particular shaman. And what happened for him was nothing short of a miracle. Jerry had a psychedelic experience that allowed him to see who he had become, merge back into his true self, and heal all the trauma that he had been through in his life since childhood. He also had a lot of memories come up about his trauma from a childhood that he had blocked, and all of the behaviors that he had and what they were and how it made sense to him now. He was able to release a lot of emotional baggage during this time with this particular shaman in the jungle of Costa Rica. After that week was done, he went back to Los Angeles, and he saw me. And I didn't even know what to expect. I didn't even know what he was doing. And he told me what had happened, and I was very skeptical. I didn't think something like that was possible. You could just turn your life around in a week. And I'd been working with this guy, like I said, for 5 years and a couple months. And after about 3 weeks, I saw that this was not something that was a whim. He had actually shifted, and I didn't really understand what that meant. But I saw that he was happy for the first time in his life, and that he felt grounded, and he felt no longer wanting to drink or do drugs or nothing like that. And the way he was treating people was very different. It was more loving and with empathy. And I had diagnosed him with a lot of stuff that doesn't allow for empathy. And I was just blown away by how I saw him come back from Costa Rica. So Jerry sent me down there about a month after his experience, and he went with me. And I met the shaman. I went to this place in the jungle, this home. It was a dive. There was no medical care. It was a dilapidated old house. And I was kind of like grossed out by it, to be honest. And Jerry was too, but he had already had his breakthrough. So I participated in this plant medicine session, and I had my own breakthrough that was life-changing for me. And I wasn't even really looking for something to change my life. I thought my life was fine, and I was living just like I needed to. But I learned that there was a lot that I had buried, blocked, and not been aware of in myself. So after I had this experience and I saw what Jerry went through, him and I decided that we wanted to open a facility in Costa Rica to do this in a legal way with a medical license in a safe environment. And so after that, Jerry and I looked through the whole country for about 6-7 months, went to all different resorts, and we ended up buying one in Hacienda Pinilla, which is on the northern Pacific coast of Guanacaste in Costa Rica, about 3 hours south of Nicaragua. And it's in a beautiful location. And we opened up our facility 2 years after purchase. And what we were doing from 2014 to 2016 is we were acquiring a medical license from the Costa Rican Ministry of Health to serve the plant medicine in a certain way that made it safe for people and made it regulated. And no other place in the world has ever even attempted to do that. And no other place in the world has a medical license to serve this plant medicine. And what we're talking about is ayahuasca. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that. But just so you are aware, ayahuasca is an indigenous plant-based drink from the Amazon basin of South America. It's in Brazil, Peru, Colombia mostly, and it grows as a vine and as a leaf-based plant that they blend together, and it releases a substance into your body that creates a psychedelic experience that has a lot of neurochemical issues for insight and a lot of physical issues for clarity and healing. And so around that ayahuasca-based experience that we offer at Rhythmia, we have 36 events that occur in a week. Those include breath work. Those include meditation. I'm going to let Ben talk about those things. I'm going to let Ben sort of explain exactly what we do at Rhythmia in a program that we call the Rythmia Way. So that's kind of the background on how this all started. I've been living in Costa Rica ever since. I moved my family there. One of my sons was born there. I live there full time, and it's a beautiful country. It's a beautiful place. And so I want to explain a little bit more later, but I want Ben to take it from here and explain exactly what does a week look like at Rhythmia.
Yeah, thanks, Dr. Jeff. Well, like Dwayne was saying when he introduced me, I started as a guest speaker. So when Jerry and Jeff had opened Rhythmia, I was a guest speaker that first year, and I was really just coming to teach meditation, and I didn't think I was going to even do the ayahuasca. And then as soon as I got here, I was like, what am I doing? I'm at the one legal place to do this thing. Of course, I'm going to do it. And I felt super safe and had an amazing experience, and the rest is history. One of the things that makes Rhythmia super special is the Rhythmia Way. That's the big difference between a Rhythmia ayahuasca center and what it is, which is Rhythmia Life Advancement Center. And so the Rhythmia Way, like Dr. Jeff was just saying, is 36 events, and when you look at a schedule full of 36 events in one week, it looks really, really full, but all of them are specifically designed and curated based on data of direct experience over 22,000 people going through the program here, and also scientifically based so that they go through they hit all the different parts of the psychedelic process. What does that mean? To prepare you, to hold the space for you, and to integrate for you. And so what does that look like? Each day at Rhythmia begins with movement therapy. We have a program called Our Move, and it's basically a yoga inspired movement therapy practice where we pair the breath with movement of the body, stretching, guided meditation. It's basically like a really, really well designed yoga class. And this is really good before you do ayahuasca to get out of your head and into your body. And it's really, really good to do after ayahuasca. So we have it almost every single day, first thing in the morning. Incredible way to start the day. All of our meals are included. And so after yoga, you'll go to our Roots restaurant, and you'll have breakfast. And some people don't realize this actually, but our entire menu has been nutritionist certified here in Costa Rica. So our entire menu is designed to be supportive of the overall process. And so you're going to be having really healthy, wholesome, nutritious, delicious breakfast. We have a set of morning workshops called The Answer Is You. Some of you might be familiar with the Agape Spiritual Center in Los Angeles. One of our board members, Reverend Dr. Michael Beckwith, is the founder of that organization, and he designed a special class just for Rhythmia called The Answer Is You. And this is a great place for us to become aware of our emotions. It's sort of like a group therapy type of experience. And that's one of the optional classes there in the morning. And then you'll have lunch. And in the afternoon, we have preparation and integration classes. So the schedule each day varies a little bit, but before and after every single ceremony, you're going to have an opportunity where you're going to meet with one of our qualified integration coaches, and they're going to go over everything that you could possibly ask about ceremony. When you go into the actual program of what's taught in those preparation and integration classes, that's really where the magic happens. The ceremonies themselves are incredible. They're multi-sensory experiences. We have extremely high quality medicine, which is an extremely rare delicacy. So to get high quality, good ayahuasca is in itself extremely difficult. And so we're really proud to say that we have excellent high quality medicine. Our facilitators are incredible. But each day, the actual workshops that you're going to be going through have a really, really sophisticated program that we refer to as the Rhythmia Way. And it's based on three primary intentions the first time that you come. And then when you come a second time or beyond that, there's actually 9 more layers of that process that we call those intentions the 9. But the first 3, I want to talk about the first 3 real quick. The first 3 that you're going to go through your first week here at Rhythmia begin with, show me who I have become. So that first part of this process, show me who I have become, is about becoming really, really present and really, really aware of the ways that we've deviated from our true nature in our lives. For some people, show me who I have become is I become a people pleaser who always puts other people before me. Other people might realize that they are controlling or closed-minded. Whatever it is, that first part of this process, that first intention, show me who I have become, is sort of like saying, let me become really, really honest with myself about the ways that I am not living in harmony or integrity with my higher truth. And that brings us to the second intention, merge me back with my soul at all costs. And so this is all based on the idea that early in our lives, we have a split. We're born whole and complete, and then we have a deviation where something happens in our lives that causes us to hide how we're really feeling, to filter ourselves, to hold back. And that experience can be something small or something traumatic. But everyone experiences some way where we deviate from the pure expression of our true nature. And so that second intention, merge me back with my soul at all costs, is all about coming back to that true nature, allowing ourselves to be who we really, really are. And it's incredible to see all the different ways that unfolds for people and the different stories that you hear from that. But that's not all. It takes us then to the third intention. And that third intention is heal my heart. And it's an incredible journey to go through all of these. Heal my heart, for some people, is about forgiving the unforgivable. For some people, it's about releasing old grudges. For some people, it's about realizing that they themselves are worthy of love and compassion. So it unfolds in a million different ways for everybody. The process will always meet you exactly where you're at. And so each step of this process is designed to help you become more introspective and more receptive to moving through this process. And so, Dr. Jeff, did you say that there was something else that you wanted to share more about?
Well, the thing is, that was great, Ben. And what I think that's unique about Rhythmia, well, what makes us different than pure, let's say, ayahuasca facilities or centers or tribes out in the jungle or whatever. The difference is that we have an actual program. Every aspect of our program is licensed, and we have a team of medical professionals that are on site. We have 4 medical doctors, 12 registered nurses, 1 paramedic, a bunch of on-site coaches. And so there's a ton of support for you while you're at Rhythmia. You're not going to fall through the cracks. I come from a clinical medical background. We have case conference once a week. We go over how every guest is doing. Where are they in the process? Do they need some support? Do they need a coaching session maybe? And we are on it with everybody there. Oftentimes, if you go into the jungle and drink medicine, that can be an amazing experience. Could be fun, could be interesting, but there's not going to be that support there or that context or that integration part of that program. Usually you drink and you're on your own. You drink the next day and you're on your own, and that's it. And you go home, and there's no really way to understand completely what just happened. And you can have the most amazing experience in the world on a certain night, but if you don't have tools on how to incorporate what you learned or what you dropped off and got rid of that was traumatic to integrate back home and to start using those tools, then it was kind of a wasted time. You have to be able to make a shift in your life after you release all this stuff you're holding on to. So we are experts at helping people do this. I think what makes Rhythmia the most unique is just our level of safety. We have security guards. We have an enclosed space. We have a beautiful 12-acre property. We have all this amazing stuff to do. We have massages, hydrocolonic cleanses, a full-on pool. Ben mentioned the restaurant Roots, which when I'm on property, I often rent my house out. I live nearby if my family's visiting California, and I live on property most of the time. I never get sick of the food. I always like eating the food because it's really healthy. It's really good for you. It matches something called the dieta, which is a shamanic tradition on how to eat to prepare your body for the ayahuasca experience. I think another thing that makes us unique is that we have a 4-to-1 or at the most a 6-to-1 ratio of staff to guest in the ayahuasca session itself. So what this means is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday night are ayahuasca sessions in the evening. And people show up, and men are on one side of the maloca, and we call the space where you serve ayahuasca, we call that the maloca. So on one side of the men, on the other side of the women, there's 7 bathrooms in there. It's an enclosed space with windows all the way around. And it's soft in there, like a soft mat. If people take off their shoes and they leave them outside. And everyone has their own mattress with pillows, blankets, and a puke bucket, which sounds scary, but it's not. This bucket is where you're going to let go of all of the pain and emotions and sadness you've been holding on to. And that's what we call a psychosomatic purge, because when you drink ayahuasca, oftentimes it's going to help you release whatever it is that's been ailing you, whatever it is that you've been holding on to, probably since childhood. And you're going to release that out of your body. Now, you might not throw up, to be honest. I rarely do for whatever reason, but you might have to go to the bathroom quite a bit. And you might just kind of like yawn it out or, like sweat it out. There's a lot of different ways to purge. But nonetheless, when you do purge, we have a staff member right there ready to take your bucket, go clean it, bring it back to you. They're watching you. For every five, like I said, 5, 6 people that are there as guests, we have a staff member watching you. We have 240 staff members at Rhythmia. So most places that I've seen and I've been to have, a skeleton crew, meaning just the bare minimum. And a lot of them are volunteers, which is wonderful. And a lot of them are just kind of there, and they maybe came from another part of the world and they're just living in Peru for now. And nothing wrong with that. That's super interesting, kind of like a quest they might be on. But a lot of them are not trained as medical and health professionals. Our team is trained. The Costa Rican Ministry of Health site visits us on a regular basis. We open a chart on you. You go through a medical intake. There's contraindications that you can't be on certain meds before you come. We go over all that stuff when you call your sales associate. Dwayne's going to talk a little bit how to do that in a minute. But we have a team of people on the phones that are ready to book you to come down for your week. And some of you might need to prepare a little bit because you might be on some SSRI medication for depression and you need to taper off of that medication with your prescribing physician. And then you have to have 30 days or sometimes 2 weeks off of that med. So there's a lot of little details like that your sales associate will go over. But what happens at Rhythmia is nothing short of a miracle, because you come to Rhythmia, you get rid of what you're holding on to, and you see life in the way that you're supposed to. You get to see finally your destiny and your purpose. A lot of people that have come to Rhythmia from all over different parts of the world thought that their lives were fine, but they were. But this levels everybody up. This helps you get to that next phase of life where you can really take off, be happy, be successful in the ways that you want to be, and really connect with your friends and family in a deeply authentic way. So to me, what sets Rhythmia apart the most is our medical license and the level of care and safety that we have at Rhythmia. And so I think for the next like 10 minutes, I want to see what Ben has to say, and also Dwayne, about what you guys think makes Rhythmia unique and what's kind of sets it apart. Maybe Dwayne, if you want to talk about it for 5, and Ben, you can talk about it for 5, and then we'll go right into the questions.
Yeah. I can approach it again from my experience as a guest. So when I first came here, I had never even smoked weed. Like a lot of people come here with a lot of addictions and so on. So if whatever your background is, I don't want to pick any demographics like, whatever, a plumber or a stay-at-home caretaker or a business person or whatever. I had no experience or interest in any of this. What had interested me was what apparently could happen in such a short period of time. So my background is a training and coaching business, and a pretty big one for a long time. COVID shut it down. I'm Canadian. I'm from Toronto originally. The restrictions were so hard for 2 years. It's kind of how I ended up here. And when I saw what we were doing with clients versus what was happening here, it became overwhelmingly obvious, if my passion is helping people, and it is, that there was better tools than what I was using, and I was using some of the best stuff my company was that we could ever use. So this term called the miracle rate, I want to this is not, also because I'm a business background myself, mostly in coaching. This is like a customer satisfaction index. This is 98% of people leaving here like saying they got a miracle. It's an insight that they were not aware of. It's a change in emotions. It's an incredible thing. Now, when I see this happening live here with guests week after week, I see how the week goes. I always tell people, to buckle up. It could be a little bit tough at times, but what a trade-off to have a tough 3, 4, 5 hours or whatever it is, whatever tough means. Nothing ever happens to anybody here because of the medical license and the clinic, that it's worth a lifetime of change, and it really is. And how people arrive, the vibe through the week, how we manage that, and how the week ends for everybody is nothing short of incredible. And I'm off. Tomorrow's my day off. Friday's my day off, and so is Saturday, really. And I come in here every Saturday, and I live 20 minutes, half an hour away from here. I come in every Saturday just for breakfast to see this happen again. I just can't believe it. And I see how things go during the week. So it's a beautiful experience. You're very well held. You have to do your own homework. There's a really close relationship between being too supported, and smothered perhaps and left alone and doing it on your own. I think we walk that line really, really well. And again, all ages, all different sorts of, experiences people have in life and different levels of what they perceive to be vitality. And you leave here just feeling amazing, And because I would come back week after week again, speaking about myself as a guest or year after year for the Guest Week program, like I said, 9 times. I had to rationalize that, financially. A couple things I did. I was self-employed, so I was able to write it off. I'm Canadian. I'm not your tax person, but I tried to write off the flight and the vacation here, and I got audited once, and it was they passed because we do have workbooks, and you are in classes, and it is truly a personal and professional development space. Because as a business person or whatever you're doing, when the person gets better, so does your business. That's one thing. But also, I just kind of validated it financially. It's $10 or $15 a day through the course of a year. You could pay it forward or pay it backwards. And for me, that was a great return on investment. It was one less Frappuccino or whatever I was doing at Starbucks. And for the rate of return that I was getting on my energy and my investment, it was a very, very easy thing for me to justify that way. So I'm a pretty logical person. I'm pretty skeptical, most open-minded, and it just it just works. It just works. Ben, anything else you want to say there before we open up to maybe some questions?
Yeah, I think that there's a lot that makes Rhythmia really special. If you're feeling really called to work with plant medicines, uh, you know, kind of like Dwayne, this is the place that I felt safe to do that. This is the place that I explored that. The safety is almost like everything for me. In order to, you can actually resist the medicine, and you can resist getting an insight in a meditation class, even if you're sitting there with the Dalai Lama, you can resist the experience of it. And so there's something about being at Rhythmia where the whole environment sort of prepares you to feel really safe. Um, there's always someone there to be supportive. We have excellent guest services. Our entire concierge staff is extremely thorough, very well educated. We have an excellent operation running. And everything from like the clinic to the spa, the classes, the breath work before the ceremonies at the beginning of the week just really opens you up, loosens you up, gets you out of your comfort zone, preps you for ceremony. The 4 ceremonies in a row are just so perfectly curated. And then breath work at the end of the week sort of seals it all up and prepares you for integration. In addition to all that, we have a 13-week integration program. We have a free integration app that you can get. We have a preparation module on the app and an integration module on the app for plenty of time after. And in addition to that, there's like a library of yoga and breath work and meditations and workshops. We have a weekly free integration session, a weekly free like live integration Zoom for everyone who's ever been at Rhythmia, free for life. Um, and the app has a library of all of our music that we play. Music is extremely important here. It's a really important, really well curated part of the process, and we give you all that music after. So it's it's while you're here, you feel really supported and really cared for, and also when you leave, we're still with you and still supporting you in a lot of ways. So that's what I think
And
makes Rhythmia
I,
special.
I want to mention one thing about the safety, just from my perspective as a guest. Um, it allowed me to do the work because you're very vulnerable when drinking ayahuasca. Like really, you have to be to have the work properly. And I was never
Yep.
worried about like having to keep one eye open or. And if I didn't feel that, if I
Right.
didn't, I don't even, for me, safety is not even the right word almost as a guest. I don't really walk around ever feeling unsafe, but it was an environment where I could just focus on me and just not worry about anything. Everything was taken care of. And safety is a great word. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I don't know how you would do this. It's why I don't go to, and I'm not knocking anything, but why I've not gone to somebody's house yet or the jungle. Because I just would not be able to be present with myself with one eye open and worried, what is that thing on my foot or whatever. So that's really how I see that mostly. It allowed me to do the deep work. And the other thing I want to say quickly also, because my background was always helping and coaching and teaching and training people, we are the worst people, generally the helpers in the family or the helpers in a business, to want to work on yourself. We get all of our healing by helping others. So we distract and avoid ourselves. And the really neat thing for me was the meals as a guest. I would go down there, sit with different people, and it would just happen. There were conversations, the emotions, the wow, you're going through that too. Oh my God, what happened to you? Are you kidding? I feel like I've been the sharing in the meals as a guest for me was such a huge part. And there's not that it's anonymous. You're not anonymous. I still keep in touch with a lot of my guest friends that have been through here, but they're from all around the world. They're not my neighbors. They're not my neighbors. They're not my coworkers. They're not my family. So I could share stuff about my personal life that I had never shared with anyone. And that sounding board environment was incredible for me. That was worth everything, actually. Anyways, yeah, go ahead.
Amazing. I want to respond to something real quick too, that if people do not qualify for the medical, if there's a reason they can't drink ayahuasca, one of the questions was, can somebody still come and participate in the ayahuasca ceremonies and not drink the medicine? And yes, the answer is absolutely yes. We have an ayahuasca tincture that is a homeopathic dose that is not contraindicated with anything. So yes, and some people do that. They come and they're supporting a spouse, or they just want to come and enjoy Costa Rica. They want to go through the classes, the program. Absolutely. So we do have that as well. And we're about an hour and 20 minutes from the airport, Liberia Airport, which is the northern airport in the country. The main airport in Costa Rica is San Jose, and we're very far from there, about 6 hour drive from there. So don't fly into San Jose, fly into Liberia. The airport code is LIR. And there are female shaman staff. There are women who serve the medicine. There are also female instructors, and there are female medical personnel. Most of our medical team are female. Actually, all of them are except for one. So all of our medical doctors except for one, and all of our nurses and all of our coaches are female. We have a couple male. We have one male coach that can fill in sometimes. So even though you look at us and we're like these three white dudes, there's a plenty of diversity within our company and plenty of women that work at our company. It's our number one clientele are women. And so it's not quite 50-50 men, women, but it's more women than men. We need the men to come and get healed because we know what's going on in the world right now. We need some of that feminine energy healing. It's very important for what we're doing at Rhythmia and also important for the world. So the other question, before I turned over to Dwayne for the other questions too, the other question I just saw was, can you pick and choose what classes you want to go to? Yes and no. Obviously, it's a free world. You can do what you want. We have decided that through our data collection, that there are certain classes that we consider extremely essential in getting your miracle. And when we say that you got your miracle, we mean that you met the three intentions that Ben explained. And so those classes are very important in those events. There are obviously the 4 ayahuasca sessions in the week, the 2 out of the 3 breath works, and some of the classes that we have, which we consider mandatory. But there's lots of other things that we consider optional. But what we think is that you should just go to everything because you're here, you're in the program. You might as well take advantage of everything. We've made it so you can have downtime and rest, and you're going to be a little tired, which is just all part of it. So we strongly recommend that you go to everything. But we've been able to, through our data collection, see that there's certain things that are more important for your miracle than other things. So Dwayne, let's get right into the questions. I know that you have a list there of some things people have been asking.
I do. Let me just flip to those right now. And okay. Sam is asking, if I'm in the midst of craziness with my 86-year-old narcissistic mother, is this a good time for me?
Ben, what do you think about that, dude?
We got about 10 questions. Go ahead, Ben.
Well, first of all, yes, 100%. This is a great situation to ground back into yourself, to reset your own energy, to clean up your side of the street so you can re-engage in a way that's going to work for you. Great time to do it.
Yeah, there's never a bad time for that one. Like when you're dealing with a narcissistic mother, you've definitely become a projective target for her, and you're probably holding a lot of her emotional baggage probably since you were an infant. And so it's good to come and have that individuation between you and her, and also to get that projection off of you. So Rhythmia's Way is the best way to get rid of that stuff. I used to work with people that had this issue in my private practice. They would see me for 10 years before they really got to the core issue. This can get to the core issue in a week. It's really shocking to see this because as a clinically trained person, I was never taught this modality because people just didn't know about it. And it's also something that doesn't create a lot of money for the medical system that's out in the world. This is something that empowers you. It gives you sovereignty. It makes you the person in charge of your own destiny. You don't rely on things like you used to. And so it's very, very empowering for people that go through this.
Very good. Very good. All right. The next question. Brittany is asking, if this experience was considered a large investment for you personally, would you still do it? I can answer that. Maybe you guys can, whatever you want. I
Dwayne,
kind of answered that.
Dwayne,
Yeah.
you should answer it because I know that people, when they've left, they've told you something very key, right? They've said, and you can elaborate on this. They've said, you guys don't charge enough. This, I would have spent $1 million for this now knowing what this was.
We hear it all the time. Exactly correct.
All the time.
Because once you understand the value of it, you answered it, Jeff. It's true. On checkout, we get it all the time.
I would say
People
many
kind of say it as a
people.
joke and they whisper it, but anyways, go ahead, Ben. Yes.
I would say many people when they arrive, it is a big investment, and for us, it's a big investment, and for everyone who comes to this, it's no joke, you know. And so it is for, I think, every single person in one way or another. It's always a big investment, and it's always worth it for sure. Absolutely.
You know, and again, I'm going back, 10 years ago when I used to come, 6 years ago, I was always also, investment compared to what, not just financially, but what my life would be like if I didn't do it, because there's always a trade-off. I do understand that. Yeah, and there's no guarantees in life for anything we do, but an 80% or sorry, a 98% miracle rate is about as close as you can get to that. And the key is to go to everything. So, but we do understand it's not free. We know that. Okay, is this drug addictive?
Okay, so I'm a good one with this, being an addiction therapist. So, to have something be considered a drug, you have to have two criteria that categorize it as considered something of a problematic drug. Number one, do you build a tolerance to it over time? And then number two, if you've built a tolerance to it, when you stop cold, do you go into withdrawal? Those are the two things that categorize something as a substance of abuse and a problematic drug. Now, if you want to look at it in a sort of a different way, is this a mind or a mood altering substance? Yes, but I'm going to talk a little bit about why that is not something that's problematic in an addiction way. Now, ayahuasca, you do not build a tolerance to it. You need less of it over time. The shamans, I always make a joke, they just look at it and they get in the medicine, they're already in it, right? They just walk by it, And I need now, because I've had several sessions with ayahuasca, I need very little. It doesn't mean I'm evolved more than anybody else. I have a lot to work on. Just ask my wife. But it's like a little bit of medicine now goes a long way, because once you clear out a lot of the emotional baggage that you've been holding on to, you're more your authentic you. And that's where you don't need a lot of this, because the active ingredient in ayahuasca is dimethyltryptamine, DMT. You already have DMT in your body. But what's happened over your lifetime is you've blocked the channels for DMT release. And that's happened because of negative ways of thinking, environmental conditions, pollution, ways of being told what to do and how to do it, and it's just been wrong. All of life's sort of things have blocked you and blocked your natural DMT reservoirs from being released. So what happens when you drink ayahuasca is you fine tune those and open them up again. I call it priming the pump. When you have a dry well out in the farm, farmers add water and then they pump and then it starts to work again. That's the same thing with ayahuasca. It primes the pump of your natural DMT release. Now, our shamanic team drinks ayahuasca frequently, even if it's just a little bit, to connect with the guests and to be in that healing zone with them each night. When they go on vacation, we give them a lot of time off. They are not in withdrawal. They have no withdrawal. They feel like $1 million, and they're living life in a great way. So it does not meet criteria in the DSM-5 for a substance of abuse. However, the thing that I mentioned earlier, is it a mood or a mind-altering substance? I do not believe it to be that. I believe it to be something that just plugs you back into the authentic you. I think when I lived in New York and I was working for Donna Karen, I thought that was a mind and mood altering experience that was not good for me. This is something that actually helps you connect with your true self and feel who you are, maybe for the first time since you had your dissociative split as a little kid. So this, in my opinion, can help people that have an addiction history. Now, we're not a rehab. You can't be using drugs right up until coming here. You have to have a certain time off of those as well. But usually we have people that there's people that come here that maybe got a year of sobriety or maybe less, maybe like 3 months of sobriety. We go on a case by case basis to see what you need and what your drug of choice was and how you're doing to see if you're ready for this experience.
Very good. Okay. We have another question. That was from Barry, that last question. Meg is asking, have any of your guests come to Rhythmia to help overcome addiction or trauma brought on by an addicted loved one? Okay. If so, what seems to be the most beneficial change?
Ben, you want to take that one?
I mean, this is something that comes up all the time. People are coming here, first of all, for their own addictions all the time. And we hear every single week people are here healing from the trauma of being in relationships with people with severe addictions. Trauma healing and healing from post-traumatic stress is one of the things that ayahuasca is best for. And not only ayahuasca, but the entire program here. Our movement therapy, our yoga, and our massage programs are all overseen by a physical therapist, and so the entire mind body process that's happening with the ayahuasca is really, really actively engaged through somatic movement. Some people are also working out here. We have a gym on site, and they get a good workout in. We have a hot tub and a cold plunge. So there's a very, very like engaged somatic aspect of the process. And anyone who's been in any type of addiction recovery, they know that the body actually has to have a recalibration even when you're dealing with the trauma of someone else's addiction. The body mirrors all kinds of symptoms and all kinds of problems. And so, yeah, absolutely. People are here for healing from trauma from their relationships all the time, especially in the context of addiction.
And what's interesting with behavioral addiction, such as sex addiction, shopping addiction, workout addiction, workaholic addiction, all these kind of gambling addiction, those things are still a chemical reaction in the brain of dopamine.
Right.
And so people become addicted to those things that are behavioral and they're not consuming a substance. So ayahuasca is really good to help people focus, get clarity, and move past those things. And we have a lot of our guests report to us that they've improved their life from depression and anxiety. They report to us these things. Now, we don't make medical claims as a medical facility. It's something we cannot do. But what we can do is talk about what our guests have reported to us. If you go on TripAdvisor, you're going to see tons of 5-star reviews and people's testimonials as to what their own experience was. There's a lot of people that come here that are well-known, famous people. Our board of directors is incredible. Martin Luther King III, Kelly Slater, the pro surfer, as Ben mentioned, Reverend Michael Beckwith from the Agape Spiritual Center, Jack Canfield, who wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul. We have Ron White, the famous comedian. We have Frank Biden. His brother was president of the United States. We look on both sides of the aisles, Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, anarchists, everybody. We're non-denominational. We're not pushing you into any sort of religious belief system. Everybody that comes leaves more spiritual than they first were. And if people are agnostic or atheist, they leave with a sense of self that's very strong and powerful. So you're not gonna be indoctrinated in any sort of way at Rhythmia.
Correct. Okay. Chris is asking, how many people come there at a time, and do you offer packages for couples?
Well, Dwayne, do you want to talk about how many people can often come here?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
there's like an average number,
I can do this one. Yeah. So I would say on the range is like on the low end, 35, high end 90 is a range, right? 60, 65 people a week is average. This week we have 50. So that's kind of where we are. With those numbers, it's going to sound like a crazy answer to give you this. It's always the right number for you. I've had small groups and big groups. You get something very different from both. It's always exceptional. Um, we tend to find out in all of these events or times you come as a guest, I did, that I was, and we all are perfectly imperfect. We're somehow exactly the same, but totally different. And the difference in having, one or two or three people in a group and 20, 30, 40, 50, whatever. We manage it great. I already gave the ratios and ceremonies. You're tended to exactly the same way with a helper and ceremony. There's no like being, uh, overlooked or not helped. But with the bigger groups, it gives you, I think, a faster sense that you're not abnormal. And that's
And what's cool
releasing.
too, what's cool about that, Dwayne, is that our data collection that we ask people on the out survey when they're leaving before they board their shuttle to go back to the airport, we ask them, "Did you get your miracle?" And we've compiled data, and the higher
Mhm.
success rate is the larger the group. And so when there's a smaller group, we have a couple no's. When there's a big giant group, it's like 100%, and it's counterintuitive. You would think if there's a small group, you'll get more attention or whatever, but that might be true, but the energy of the group as a whole is very powerful. I just did a podcast a couple days ago with a guy who has experienced drinking medicine with the Santo Daime religion. And he said his ceremonies are 250, 300 people sometimes. And it's such a powerful experience that it's just beautiful. And so oftentimes people might think, oh, Rhythmia is too big. It's too this, it's too that. Well, they've never been here and they don't even know what they're talking about. And our data shows that the bigger the group, the better the success rate. So, Dwayne, in order to wrap this up, we got basically 1 minute left. Do you want to have a
Okay.
call to action for all the people watching here and just invite them to book their stay
Yeah.
and come down?
Yeah, exactly. So, I'm kind of like it as in the hotel industry to a point as far as availability, pricing, different room availability. We have different size rooms, single, doubles, triples, all that kind of stuff. They all vary in price. Is when you're thinking about coming and, what your schedule looks like. So if you're normally available, early in the month, later in the month, if mid-month's better for you, give that some thought. The number that you should call to find this out is on Jeff's screen. You have our email probably, but I'll give it to you here. Is 1-888, so 1-888-451-5005. That's 1-888-451-5005. Please tell them when you call that number that you attended the webinar. Okay, it could be important to you for different reasons when you go to do your booking. But yeah, availability, prices vary. Call as soon as you can, and then you can track that. If you can't come right away. But we'd love to have you here. It's a great experience. It's a life-changing advancement. It really is.
Yeah, we want to thank everybody for watching, and it was great to talk to everybody. We can't say enough about this program. We love it, and we've met so many awesome people from everywhere, and they become friends of ours and just great people. So if you want to meet some very like-minded people, individuals, come to Rhythmia. You're going to make lifelong friends.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's a great team, great community.
Great.
Thank you. Have a good one. This recording will be in your inbox. We're recording this for you.
And see you soon.
Thank you.